supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
And no nation which expects to be the leader of other nations can expect to stay behind in this race for space.
What does it take to convince you that the dead do not always rest in peace?
This episode has been brought to you by Bratz Beard Care. Go to bratzbeardcare.com. You enter promo code 3beards with a capital B, and you're going to save 20% off your entire order, along with free shipping. Check out our signature blend 3B. It is a really nice smelling blend, and it will cut all those smells that nobody wants to get in your facial hair. So use that. It makes it soft, makes it more nice, and everybody is happy, especially that significant other that has to get up inside that beard. So that's like I said, nobody wants a nasty beard. So if that's not just the most amazing introduction our guest has ever had in her life, which she's had some amazing introductions because she works with Mark Eddy. and Barbara Delong has graciously decided to embrace the beardos, and so we recognize her courage. She is an internationally known radio show podcast host. She's a spiritual empath, lecturer, artist, published author, ordained minister. The list, there's a well-accomplished list. I've had the privilege of being on her show to talk with Catherine Children again, and to start off, first off, thank you for joining the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I feel naked without a beard, but there's very little I can do about it.
Yeah. We need to, figure out, we've always talk about that, the paint stick with the beard, so people can hold it up, to feel like they're part.
Yeah.
We got to get on that.
I have a cat around. I could probably hold her up.
That would be awesome. Until just that freak accident when the cats do what they do and they just spaz out and they just start just totally mauling the face.
Yeah. Oh yeah, thanks.
Yeah. But I wanted to just start off, but and just kind of the thing where we fell, just synchronicity is probably the best way. It was meant to be. Austin finds Max Hawthorne.
Oh,
we interview, and all of a sudden he makes a phone call to Mark, just saying how he had a great time. Well, all of a sudden Mark, is tied in with you, and now because of the fact that we didn't botch, this initial thing. We actually, we actually did everything. Now I can't even begin to thank you and Mark for just the wealth of, guests and information that has come from the Nightlight, network, because you guys, honestly, I would say 3/4 of the guests we've had on since May are through your guys's, being interacting with you guys. And so as on air publicly, I want to personally thank you and Mark for, all the hard work that you guys have done and the fact that you're allowing us to be on your coattails.
Yeah. Oh, it's a pleasure. The Nightlight's been around for almost now going on 12 years.
Oh, wow.
So there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have been interviewed and have been on the show. And I tell Mark, if we can help people get out there, then, it's ridiculous to be selfish and hang on to their contact information. Let's share it. Mm-hmm. And he's phenomenal with that. He networks like crazy. And when he was hopping between shows, and we had known each other, kind of back and forth because of shows our paths had crossed. And so we had chatted here and there. And when he left one show and was talking to me about he didn't know where he was going to go, and then I thought, well, geez, he'd be a great addition to Nightlight. And then before I could open my mouth, he had another show that he was on. So I shut up and waited. And then suddenly he was free again. And I said, look, before you go to another show, let me just give you a show on Nightlight, and you can do
Nice.
your own thing instead of being the hustler for other hosts. Why don't you become a host? Because Lord knows you know all these people. And I said, and I will shamelessly use you and get connections to everybody you know. And he was fine with that. So
That's, yeah, I was just going to say, everybody go to YouTube right now. If you're there, it's subscribe to Barbara DeLong. I'll show it here right now. Just go there. You just click. It's real easy to find. Barbara DeLong, channel. Just hit this nice little thing right here. Subscribe. Hit that little notification bell, and you're going to get all the information that you need. So
oh yeah,
go
and
there.
since Mark has joined, then Solaris Blue Raven now does a show on Nightlight. And she's got her own KCOR and Freedom Slip show, but she does Neon Twilight on Nightlight once a month. And then Mary Joyce, who has a fabulous website. If you haven't been to Sky Ships Over Cashiers, everybody should check it out. Not now, of course, but
Yeah, that's right.
don't go now.
Here's Mary Joyce. Yep, here's
But-
Mary Joyce.
And so she does a monthly show, and then Gloria Amendola, who is an amazing author, has a show, and so does let's see who David Collis does a show on Nightlight. There are actually 7 different people that do shows on the Nightlight network now, so it's it got big.
Well, and that was the part, like I've told Mark, and it was funny you said that, because I said that same thing to him, and I've told the guys, it's like the part I do not like is the ones that are selfish, that feel like this is mine. I'm going to hold on to this, because there's only, as I hope everybody's noticed, there's only one thing that's going to happen from this. You're going to get more exposure.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about things. This is the thing. The more people talk about this, the more people interact, the bigger this becomes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I love. I
And
love.
it
Go
was
ahead.
funny because when Mark came on board a little over 2 years ago, he said, well, let's, have you thought about making it a network? And I said, I don't want to make it a network. I don't want to work that hard. And so, for every other show that's on the air, I run the switchboard, I do the graphics, I do I'm there, I run the show behind the scenes. I'm there to save somebody if they need saving, but I'm there. And it just sort of happened. It evolved, and so far it's worked out very, very well. So long as they stick to a spiritually based, metaphysically oriented concept, and trust me, Mark has made some very unusual things spiritual. That
Yeah.
he's been very creative.
Yeah, I would say, like, for me, he's had some stuff where is originally I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do that. It's like that he brings it in, and I've seen it, how it works even on your guys' platform. I mean, like, for the longest time, I've told him, it's like, we're going to have Boone Froggatt on. It's just a musician. I'm like, dude, none of us play music.
Mm-hmm.
None of us are musicians. I go, I've got nothing to add other than, like, hey, that's a cool guitar. That looks awesome. I mean, yeah, I like your song. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. And then, but that's the part, like, I've actually enjoyed listening to your guys' show. It's just,
I think one of the strangest things was we had Gary Leckman on just earlier this week, and I've had him on a number of times before, and he an incredible author on a plethora of subjects. Really an academic. Turns out he was the founding member of Blondie. So
yeah, that surprised me. I was listening to that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, and so Mark's having him on, to go from the rock and roll side of it. So you never know. You never know what you're going to run into, and it's really where I was beating the bushes a decade ago for people to come on the show. Now it's people are beating my bushes that sounds bad, but I'm getting a lot of I'm getting a lot of people saying, I'd like to be on your show. This is what I do. This is what I've written, and basically, it's the credo these days is you have to have written a book. There has to be something I can read that we can talk about intellectually, and if you don't have a book, I don't want to hear your stories of what a great reader you are. If you're a great reader, then your acts do speak for itself. Your actions speak for yourself. And while initially it was a show where I did free readings, now I don't do readings because I discovered I had created a big crowd of thousands of people who were codependent on me and followed me around everywhere I went and asked for readings and never paid attention to what I said. They
Yeah.
just
Oh,
got
wow.
they just got their 3 minutes on the radio. So so I do that once a year now. Right before the new year, I roll my sleeves up and I do free readings on the show, and it's a lot of fun. And we're overwhelmed with people who call in, but we do our best. And it's fun, but there's so much more to life than that. So that it's a matter of let's stretch into some other aspects of life and find out what's going on, why it's going on, and how it affects you. And it's really it's fun. I've had when I told Mark, when this stops being fun, I'll stop doing it, but it's still fun.
That's
That's awesome.
yeah, for us. I mean, that's the thing. It has to be fun. You have to enjoy
yeah.
this, because if it gets to the point to where you're doing this because you have to,
Yeah.
people. I mean, I would think that you yourself as a guest would see it if it's especially in my eyes. You would look at me and say, he's not into this at all. He's not enjoying my time. He just looks like he's forced to be here, and he wants to escape as fast as he can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep looking at the clock.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know. I've enjoyed it. And, back to the thing with you and Mark, the part that's really amazed me is just the connections that we've gotten from everything, and the way, just as a community, I feel like you guys have not only helped us, you've welcomed us in. It's like I told Mark, I go, the part I love is there's not this competition feel.
Oh no! I mean,
It's just,
that to me is one of the saddest things about this. I mean, if we can help authors who have written wonderful books get their information out there, it's like David Brody. I've read all of his books. I've had him on a ton of times, and I always learn a lot when I have him on, and he's a terrific interviewer. And hopefully it gets his name out there too. And if we can share him with other shows, that's great too. That's why we have a guest form. And if we've had a guest on the show and somebody needs to have their information, I will share the guest form with them so that they have all of the contact. Now it's up to them to make the contact and do all the work. But if I have the contact, I'll hand it out. I can't think of anybody that I would that has said, "Oh, please don't share my information." I mean, even people like Scott Waller and gosh, I don't know. We've had some really, really great guests, and nobody has ever said, "Oh, don't give my information out."
Yeah.
Yeah, we've only had one, and it was Andy Mercer. He didn't want his be live on camera.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he wanted just just a picture, just something, like, because he was in the process of, I think it was a job thing, and he just didn't want his face out there, so people see it's like, oh yeah, you're that guy from the shows. He was he wants at least that level of anonymity, which we totally understood that part. But there. And Julie has a question too, is thinking back on all of the interviews that you've done, so that this is going to be a real easy question. Which one would you say was your most memorable?
Wow.
I know. Don't you love those easy ones? Those softball questions right in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there have been Dina Miriam is comes to mind. She's written a number of books on past life memories, and she works with the UN. She's an amazing lady, and her books are fabulous. When she talks about her past life, she takes you into the past life, into the past life to the point where you don't want her to die and go on to the next one because you like that one so much.
Wow.
There's The Last Train to Hiroshima, and now I can't remember the author's name, and he was fabulous. If you don't, let me see if I can find just.
Yeah, you were. If I remember, you were telling me about that book. That was one of the ones you encouraged me to, to check out.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I can't. He's an amazing author. He's done books on. It's To Hell and Back. Okay. You have to forgive me because there are so many. His name is Charles Pellegrino. And To Hell and Back, The Last Train to Hiroshima. He has personally interviewed survivors of not only those that survived the Hiroshima bomb, but the Nagasaki bomb as well.
Wow.
And he talks to these are personal interviews that he's done with them, and he makes, while we all heard about this and read about it and learned about it in school and saw the videos, you read this book and you personally go through what these people went through as the bomb hit, what happened, how they felt, how it was, yes, thank you. It is the best book I've ever read. It is about a horrific occurrence, but the personal stories are just phenomenal. There's one doctor who was suffering from cataracts, so bad that he wasn't able to continue practicing, but after the bomb, his eyes were cured, and
wow.
he spoke about it was a very difficult way to be cured of the cataracts, but it did cure him, and he went on to practice. Survivors of the two bombs came and met at the UN with survivors, with the relatives of survivors of 9/11, and Pellegrino lost family in that particular circumstance. So he met with all of these people, and these people that had survived not one but both of the bombs. Their story, their message was, it's just love. You need love. Love is what will get you through, and it's it's the Beatles. All you need is love. I mean, it sounds, but the book is the most remarkable book I have ever read, and he was a phenomenal interview. I thoroughly enjoyed Dr. Sam Osmanovic. He's the one that is working with the Bosnian Pyramid. Great interview, great material. You guys should definitely get a hold of Dr. Sam, because it's one of the few times that he interviewed himself. He would go on, and you might ask me, Barbara, da 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 da. Well, I'll tell you, he did the whole damn interview. I mean, I could have baked cookies, taken a bath, and folded laundry. It was I had trouble breaking in to ask questions. It was one of those interviews where you sit back and you say, well, he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
But he's a remarkable interview, and his material is fabulous. And you and let's see who else. I mean, Gary Leckman has wonderful books out there, but they're 400- and 500-page books. So you're going to read it. You're going to have you have to commit. But there are, I think those are the two that I would go to, that I would say are were favorites of mine. I love it. And three, Dina Miriam is a phenomenal interview as well. So I think, though, that because Mark and I we read the books of the authors that we interview, so we're familiar with the material, and it's not a matter of tell me about the book. It's a matter of, okay, this is your topic, and how did you get involved? And I mean, we know the material so that we can talk about the book and sound intelligent. To a degree, we can ask good questions, and I think that makes for a good interview, rather than, Mark tells about one of the shows he was on where the host that he was working with said, "It's a nice cover. What's the book about?" I mean, right away, you have turned the author off.
Yeah.
Well, he told me the horror story about one of the interviews you had, where who is she, and who, basically, like, who the hell is, it's like, what is she on here for, and who the hell is this type, basically the thing. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how do you?
I'm sitting there on camera, and this woman is on a split screen like this, and she said, "We have Barbara Delong on with us tonight. I don't know who she is, but I'm sure it'll be a good interview." And I'm thinking, did you look at my website at least? Did you, I mean, the website has 500 pages on it. You could pick a page, and I could talk on it. And I said, and I'm sitting here smiling and thinking, well, surprise, surprise, you have an ego, and it has been bruised.
Oh God!
Not that everybody has to know who I am, but if you're going to have me on your radio show, at least know who I am.
Yeah, get some.
And here is her site, barbaradelong.com. See,
it's a cool website.
It is. I like all the interact, and it's, it's kind of, you have so many different things in here, and that was one of the things it's like a rapid fire, It's like, we have Barbara on for the full hour, and so we're gonna delve in.
Well, the cool thing about it is this is within the last couple of years, a new way for the website to be presented. I found that nobody was looking at the drop down menus, and so when my webmaster said, "Well, we have to redo your website," I said, "Well, then I want to redo the front page, and I want to put all the drop down menus on the front screen."
Yeah, it's better.
And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because when people flash through websites, they look at the front page and they move on. This way, it's all there." Now, every one of the buttons has hundreds of pages of material in them, but it's kind of, it's there so that it hopefully will catch somebody's eye, and they'll say, "Oh, let me look into this one."
Mm-hmm.
So and she fought me. She said, "No, they don't do that." And I said, "Who are they?" And she said, "Well, it's not the way people do websites." And I said, "Is this against the law?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, then here's the answer. It's real simple. If you don't want to do it, I'll find somebody who will."
Yeah. Too many drop-down menus is annoying, because I like that. It's all right there, and it's like right in your face too. It's not small.
No.
Yeah. You were talking about you did a lot of free readings a lot. What got you into doing the readings, and how long have you been doing it for?
I've been reading people for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And
so you're saying you have experience?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it all, but I've seen more than I really want to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But readings are really, they're a cool thing. I don't get them because I really think I want to make sure that personally I'm ready for whatever comes my way. I don't want somebody to tell me, in June you're going to meet so and so. That's no fun. Then I waste my time until June, and June comes and goes, and nobody comes, and then well, that was a couple $100, down the drain. So to me, reading is spiritual guidance. It's helping to give somebody tools to work with whatever's coming their way. It's not meant to, lots of times, the big questions are, when am I going to meet someone? Am I going to get a new job? When am I moving? I mean, the big ones. And the reality is, we are in charge of our own reality. Yeah. We control it by our perception of it. And as far as relationships go, you become the person you want to draw into your life, and that magnetically draws people into your life. If you are happy and content, then you will draw people who are happy and content into your life. And if you feel you need someone to complete you, you're going to pull in people who aren't complete. And, it's that easy. And it really is that easy. Psychics, there are a lot of levels of people who do psychic readings. And everybody, first of all, is psychic. Everyone has the ability to be psychic. We all have intuition. We all have inclinations. We all get inspirations. all of us have this talent. And it's a matter of, okay, if hello. So if you want to go to somebody who has worked on themselves more than you have, then you're going to get whatever their experiences are. So that it's like the Bible. The Bible was written by people from their own frame of reference. A psychic reads from their own frame of reference. So, and I tell people, if you're going to go to a psychic, go to somebody who's happy, well-adjusted, and loves life, because that's what they're going to give you.
Yeah. I'm probably going to skip ahead of you. You're probably going to say the same thing. Chris Garcia came on. Great guy. I'm always leery about psychics and people like that. But he was just a great guy. He had everything. He's like, when he could tell you, I don't want, like you said, the dogs, can you hear that?
That's okay.
Yeah, everyone's just getting home. But I don't want him to tell me you're going to meet this person, blah, blah, blah. Just tell me a broad area. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm expecting that then, But when I
think you lost a dog.
Yeah, somebody got caught in a door.
they've been gone all day. They're excited to see the family. But when I was younger, my mom took me to the flea market, met a tarot card person. She gave me my tarot cards. I was high school, and she's like, oh, you're going to marry this person, get divorced, this many kids. I was like, oh my God, that's great. I'm believing it. And then for the longest time, she's like, you're going to get a career in water. And I was like, that's great. I love water. And for the longest time, I was pushing to find a career with water. And I'm like, I'm not happy right here. I love the water. I really do. But this is not what I'm meant to be. I'll get back to water soon, but I need to stop focusing on what she said, which probably isn't true. So that's why when Chris came on, he said everything. I'm like, I like it. He's not being specific, but he's like, just pay attention to these things. I'll take it. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'm not responsible for your life. You are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there are inclinations. You can see where somebody is inclined, what's going that way. But to be specific is ridiculous.
You can't. It's just no. Universe is going to do what it wants to do. That's what I feel like. I just been laid back a lot.
Well, a long time ago, I was scheduled in a bookstore to go and do readings in a bookstore in Virginia Beach. And in Virginia Beach, it was against the law to be a psychic.
Wow.
And so I was told that I could be arrested and that there would be a hefty fine if I did readings there. And so I had a number of clients down in that area who happened to be lawyers. And so I called them and I said, look, if I'm arrested, will you defend me? Mm-hmm. And one of them said, absolutely. And she had a friend who was a teacher at William and Mary. And so we sued the town of Virginia Beach for the right for me to go into this store and do readings. And so it made a big deal. It made the news. It made the news. It actually made the law review for that particular point of time.
What was that again? What year was that?
Oh God, I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
No,
and so we turned up in federal court. I had with me 3 lawyers, all who were doing it for free because they thought this was wonderful. She's intelligent. She can speak intelligently. She's got master's degrees. She's not a flake. She doesn't have hooped earrings on. and she's published. I was a good person to represent. And the courtroom was packed, and there were reporters all over the place. And so the judge, looked at the material. They gave examples of my writings and what I had done and everything else. And they interviewed me. They asked me if I could tell the future, and I said only God can do that, but I can give you possibilities and potentialities. And
That's
Judge listened and went into her chambers, and I said, should I have offered to read everybody in the court? I said I could do that, and and the lawyer said, no, don't do that. And she came back in, and she said that it would be all right for me to go in and read in the bookstore because I was more spiritual than anything else. And so what I was doing was, because they got them on free speech, and because I'm an ordained minister, it was freedom of religion. So she went with that one, that this was a religious experience. This was not a psychic experience. And so I was okay to go ahead and do the readings in the bookstore. And so I did. But
That's awesome.
I did
I would've-
challenge, and my son said, you really didn't win because it was dismissed. And I said, no, I won. I got to do the readings and they didn't arrest me.
Exactly.
I would have loved it if you ripped open an envelope, see, and you already had the answer of what was going to happen.
I have done that. One Thanksgiving, my son, who was in college at the time, we were sitting at the table and he said, so you think you're psychic, huh? And I said, yeah, everybody is. And he said, yeah, but you're good. And I said, yeah, sometimes. And he gave me a piece of paper and a pencil, and he said, what are you going to get for Christmas? Nobody shopped yet. And so I wrote down 10 items, and he sealed it in an envelope and he put it inside the cupboard, taped it in. And everybody forgot about it until Christmas dinner. And he said, okay, now we have to open the predictions. And I said, we don't have to do that. I don't need to prove anything to you guys. And he said, oh, no, afraid? And I said, no, I'm not afraid, but I really don't need to do this. And I said, and I'm fine with you tearing it up and never knowing. And so he opened it, of course. And I had, of the 10, I had 9 dead on. And he said, okay, I didn't get golf clubs for Christmas. And my mother looked at him and said, oh, God, John, I couldn't wrap them. They're under the bed upstairs.
God.
And they were. I got all 10. And he shut up.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's one of those where you get the goosebumps. You're like, ooh.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Do you not regret? Do you feel like days you don't want to have those, not powers, but what your abilities,
the gift?
Yeah. Do you feel like there's days you're like, I don't want this. Why do I have this?
No, I like me.
Okay.
I don't book people up the wazoo. Once a year, I do a March Madness, and I'll do readings for $75 an hour, and
yes.
And because I hate basketball, so it's no. I mean, it's what makes me who I am. It enables me to pick good places good people to talk to, and stuff like that, and even when I made this move. This is a cool story. Talk about synchronicities.
Awesome.
I had been looking for a year and a half for a place to live in Nashville because my house was on the market for a year and a half, and I hadn't found it. I had found lots of places that I could make work, but wasn't in love with. And the day my house actually sold, I got the offer. The condo I'm in right now came on the market. Never saw it. Hadn't seen this area. I called my son and I said, go look at this one. It just came on the market. I think this is it. And so he was great. He came and he looked at it and he said, well, it's nice. And I said, this is what I want you to offer. And, this is what it'll go for. And he, of course, didn't believe me, but that's what happened. And one of the, criteria for where I wanted to live was I wanted it to be by water and country-ish. And this is country-ish. I'm 15 minutes from Nashville, but I'm in the country. Deer come and graze in my backyard. And a couple of weeks after I moved in, I kind of walked around. It's a very small gated community. There are 15 units, and it turns out there is a stream in my backyard, which is the water I needed to have.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
And then I noticed that there was a privet fence hedge behind my condo, and turns out it's a graveyard, which is great. And I went to one of the people who lived here and I said, how old is the graveyard? And he said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I said, it's a great thing. And he said, it's 200 years old. It's an official cemetery for a family that helped to settle Goodlettsville, which is where I live. And so my friend and I, there were only a couple of headstones that I could actually read the name on. And so I found the name and the date and we checked out the family, and it turns out that this Thomas F. Smiley had a sister named Hattie. Hattie, this is early 1800s now. Hattie married a man named Aaron DeLong.
Get out of here.
No way.
Yeah, way.
What?
And Aaron DeLong goes back to Moses DeLong, and my family line goes back to Moses DeLong. So I got a family graveyard here that's my family.
Oh my God.
That's crazy. I mean, that's one of those things that is like, you were meant to be where you're at that point. I mean, that's just.
I said to my son, I'm not a damn Yankee. I happen to be Southern by marriage, but
Well, that's what
it was. Oh no, I was just going to say. It's just for me, it was just kind of funny that your son didn't believe you. It was like our interview with Reverend Bill McDonald. I mean, after a certain point, when somebody keeps being dead on, and then they tell you it's like, yeah, this is the one. Are you sure? I'm like, at that point, I mean, I told Reverend Bill, I go, I don't even want you to tell him, call me and ask me how my day is. Is your day going okay today? Because at that point, I'm going to be like, what would you see?
you see his phone call, just ignore it.
Yeah.
We have my friend and Craig's friend coming on in December talking about why yoga is important, relaxing the mind, natural rejuvenation. And then we tell people, our guests usually they are interested in our show, but when it comes to like psychics and readings and stuff, you got to be open to the belief. If you're not open to the belief, you're gonna think they're all fake and weirdos. They're not.
For sure.
You have to be open to paranormal, open mind. Even if you don't believe it, just be open minded to anything.
But you don't do it for fun either, because what happens when you sit down and somebody is going to read you, you become an open book and a what's the word I want, a place where they are going to plant seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And long time ago, I did a barter with an astrologer, and I read him, and then he did the astrology on me, which I thought might be interesting. And he said, Barb, you're going to die in 6 months. And I said, well, come on, death is, it can be interpreted in many different, death of a philosophy, death of a dream, death of a, whatever. He said, no, physically, you're going to die of a heart attack in 6 months. There's nothing you can do, and we'll miss you. And I said,
damn.
I said, come on. And now a part of me knew that this was stupid. But for the next 6 months, I hit every doctor I could find. Mm-hmm. I was panicked. That subliminally made me very conscious and curious about my own health. And so, be careful. So if you're going to get a reading, make sure that you have referrals, you've checked out their website, you've checked out them as a person. If you're going to put yourself in a position where they're going to plant thoughts into your head, and they do, make sure that they're a happy person, and they'll plant happy thoughts. I mean, it can be, and readers don't mean to plant negative, but if they're coming from a negative spot within their own life, that's what they're going to plant.
Yeah. And you don't give, not evidence, but don't give them, like you said, don't give them seeds like, oh, I love fishing. You're like, oh, you're going to be a fisherman in a few years, because they'll run with it, Like we had Chris on, we had Joey and Tanya. And Tanya, we just met her that day. And she pinpointed me, Craig, and Chris to a T on everything. Like just small projects about my trucks. I'm like, how do you know I have that? That's what I believed her. I'm like, you don't even know us. You don't know anything, but you pinned it perfectly.
Yes, but it's already there in your field, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a reader reads.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, okay, so she could do that. So what good did it do you as far as your life goes?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to down the field exactly. But if somebody gets a reading, I like to hope that they are looking for spiritual direction as opposed to the mundane things that anybody can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of wrap up like this section on the two. I agree. I mean, it's one of those things as you're getting these readings. It's like you want to have. I mean, as fun as it is. I mean, the Miss Cleo type reading. Where you're getting. You do this. You don't want to. You do that for entertainment, but at the same time, it's like as you're coming for an answer. I feel like you should have in your mind. You have a direction that you want to go. Like personal change. Like if I was to ask you, it's like. I don't want to give you a generalized saying like, what should I do for the rest of my life? Because like you said, you're going to steer me. You're going to say, well, I'm seeing that you need to do this as and that's going to change word more like, I really feel like even me, personally, I really feel drawn to runes and, learning to actually do that in a way of like divination.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be more apt to ask you, it's like, do you feel, are you getting that same feeling like I'm on the right path? Like this is something that, is the direction I should go? Or instead of just going, just abroad, what should I do tomorrow?
But it's interesting. You should be basically career-wise, you should be doing whatever gives you pleasure. Whatever
Exactly.
gives you pleasure and joy is where you are inclined towards, is where you'll be successful. And even if it's weird, like growing, having an angleworm farm, if that's what gives you joy, if that's what gives you satisfaction, if that's what makes you feel really good about yourself, then that's where you belong.
That's
And
cool.
and
I agree.
as far as your day is an open slate, and you create what happens in that day. If you get up and you're moaning and groaning, chances are the day is going to be tinged with that particular frame of reference.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I have learned that we are so much more in control of our own reality and what happens and comes to us in life. Being open to it, being ready to embrace the challenges that you need. I mean, let's face it, without the challenges, you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
So
That's like
Yep.
our topic before the show. I'm not going to bring it up, but I was talking to my brother. He's like, man, you changed. What happened? And I said, I just realized that working for the man and not living your life is just ruining yourself. You got to live your life, and you have to just stop worrying about the little things because you only live here once, YOLO. But
time.
enjoy the little things.
This
Yeah,
time.
well, yeah. But
Yeah.
stop worrying about the little things and enjoy life. That's what it is. I mean, why stress?
I mean, if you do what people tell they think you should do, it's sort of like if you're having a difficult time with something and you canvass all your friends and ask them all for advice, they're all going to give you what they would do in that situation, but they aren't you.
Yeah.
So
you know you.
And you don't know what you need to do. I mean, the truth is you are never asked to struggle through something that you don't have the potential to do so. And it's a matter of looking for your options and looking for the directions that you can go in. And sometimes people are very hard-headed and they choose to try to go in a direction that is not appropriate for them, and they have a horrible time. And instead of saying I'm a failure, looking for things that give them joy and that they do well, frankly, I'd go for where I can be good at. I'm good at doing spiritual stuff, so here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And I said it's really nice having you on here to talk about that part because it's just, I think there's a few people I feel like that's a message that they really need to hear because you said it before the show, and that it's really stuck with me now. Where it's just, before you can ask for something, like where should I go next, you need to get yourself in the right spot. You need to fix you, because if you're broken, that missing piece out there isn't going to fix that.
No, and it's like putting square wheels on a car. If you aren't equipped to do something, it won't work. And I think that most of us try to keep into, see, that's the neat thing about spirituality. You will attract what is the most important thing for you to have in your life. And once you realize that you're doing the attracting, you can change what magnetic impulses you're sending out there. And it's I know, I had things done to the condo, and my son kept saying, aren't you frustrated that things aren't going well enough for you, or the painter isn't coming there as much as you'd like? And I said, he's taking care of the client before me, and he's doing a good job. Mm-hmm. And if he's that good and that, that conscious about how he has to do his job, when he gets here, he'll do the same for me. And I'll wait for that kind of attention. And so it's how you perceive it. I could have said, oh, this is crap, let's get another painter that can get in here and do what I want. And no, I was fine with waiting.
That's awesome. Now, as like you said, it was one of those things. I'll tell you right now, I did not see, the way our show always goes, I did not see us getting to this point in the show. I mean, we're already well beyond where I was planning, like some of the questions I was planning on asking. I mean, we just got one of the ones I did want to ask you. What is your favorite cryptid?
Well, first of all, cryptids are a matter of perception. So I guess the unicorn.
Unicorn, cool. I have absolutely fallen in love with the Pukwudgie.
Yeah.
Yes, that one, after doing that show, that was become, being from the Northwest, it was Bigfoot, that was the big one. But yeah, coming down here, learning about the Pukwudgie, I mean, that one now, that's just, for me, it's just the Flatwoods monster. I'm really interested in that. The Van Meter monster is really cool. It's just, and this, a lot of that information has come from, through getting to know you and Mark, and so.
Well, you think about cryptids like Mothman and the Flatwoods monster, and it. Are you familiar with the term egregore?
Yes.
In a way, they become egregores because people describe what they see, and then other people see the same thing. So it does pose the question, did we create them, or were they created by something else?
Yes, and that's it's kind of the broad spectrum, because I know it's like you have, I'll touch on it, from UFOs to, just you have all this, and through some of the stuff, I've kind of formed myself to where I'm getting more and more to where I think that some of these things that we see as a cryptid is possibly like another something that has pierced the veil, has bled over into our, and that's why, like the Van Meter monster, that's why you have Van Meter visitor, sorry, not just monster.
Okay.
But that's why here you have something that appears for a short window and then you never see it again. Well, it's just that that window hasn't reopened. So these could be as common as deer are that you see out your back window.
Deer don't exist in Florida.
Well, there is a theory that Bigfoots are not only interdimensional, but they're shapeshifters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another book that I'm going to try to get the author on for, but it makes, to me, I swear they have to be interdimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would make sense, wouldn't it? I mean, with the fact that we never see skeletons, we don't ever see bones, we don't ever see dwellings. So wouldn't it make sense that it's something that phases in? We see it walking, we see it leave some trace like a fur or a print, but then it's gone. It's no longer there.
Well, Mary Joyce of Skyships Over Cashiers. A great guest. Or have you looked at her website ever?
Yeah, and we're in the process of. I would like to get her on the show. So
Well, she in one of her the website is great because it's short articles that make you think, and she has archives that go back over a decade. But they did find hair of a Bigfoot. It was analyzed. Ready for this one? Human mother, unknown father,
really,
DNA wise.
wow. So that there's the missing link.
Could be, and I believe they're interdimensional too. I mean, that's just my thought. I don't know if that's Mary's thought or not, but she's a fabulous guest. You'll love talking to her.
Yeah, I'm looking. That thing is, yeah. Mark just put her website there too. It was, and that was one of the things through the amazing work that you guys have done through your network, and you've gotten through this. It's been so fantastic getting to learn these things, because this is aspects like a few years ago I never even considered the fact. I was more of the ones like, this is possibly just the workings of somebody who's gone out there in the suit, made it up.
Yeah.
That's why we never see it, because as we were going through, one of the biggest things for me is, if Bigfoot existed in this reality, how come nobody can pull up an infrared and see these creatures walking around? This, with modern technology, we should be able to just bam, hit everywhere, and it's like, oh, there it is. You just point them out. But now, obviously we can't, but it would make sense, like you said, if it's an interdimensional thing, that it would just randomly appear at different times. As I always use the example, like the show Fringe.
Yeah.
They're just all of a sudden a portal, some thing opens up that allows this other from another dimension to walk through at a brief moment and interact with our space. And my theory is, like, why UFOs, these cryptids, why you can't get clear photographs, is they're vibrating differently.
Well, it could also be that the Earth is their busch gardens.
Yeah. This is their playground. Yeah.
They come through for a while and then they go back home. I mean, Bigfoot especially, I really believe they're interdimensional. I mean, she has a lot of material on her website about their and there's material that goes back to the Civil War about how they have helped soldiers heal. And I mean, there's wonderful material on them before they were labeled Bigfoot. And I think what upsets me the most is that there are people out there that want to kill one and or capture one. They've never really formed an army and attacked us. They're not here to take. It's not like Planet of the Apes. They're not here to take over. They're here to exist quietly with us, and I think they want to be left alone.
I've always said, it's funny you said that, because that's one of the things I've always asked too. Is like, you see something new, why do you want to shoot it?
Yeah.
Why is your first instinct to pull out the gun and kill it? It's like, how about you do, like, take a picture, study it, start writing down notes. I saw it eating this plant, and now we have information that we didn't have before. But no, your first thought was grab the shotgun and blast it.
Well, like you said, it comes and goes. If I can get it on the ground, it can't go anywhere.
Yeah, but they've never attacked. They hit trees with sticks. They throw rocks. Give me a break. I mean, this is not something that when we find a tribe of people in the rainforest that have never seen human beings, we're very careful about approaching them, of infecting them with our technology or our germs. And so with Bigfoot, I think we should be the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of that show, Finding Bigfoot. I was just, as you were saying, the banging the sticks, first thing that popped in my head was Bobo, when he laid out the whole spread of food that he knows is Bigfoot's favorite, and it was Oreos, bacon, candy bars. I'm looking at here, I'm like, that was his favorite snack foods. He just laid it out there so he could eat it as he was talking about Bigfoot.
They're basically vegetarians, I think.
Yeah.
At least according to Mary Joyce. I mean, she's my authority.
Well, I would myself just thinking about it. I mean, unless it's small game, we're not seeing any signs of a weird animal attack on a deer carcass or an
No,
elk
no.
carcass.
And Mary Joyce has written a book. It's like a coffee table book. It'll take you a couple of hours to read it, period. It's not a long book, lots of pictures. And it's called Bigfoot Beyond the Footprints. And I cried because it was so sweet, and it showed a side of the Bigfoots that is so sweet and so peaceful and so blissful and so kind. You should check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, and it's like 60, 70 pages long. It's not a long book.
Do you
But
remember the title of it again?
Yep, Bigfoot Beyond the Footprints.
Bigfoot. I'm looking at right to bring up a picture. Sorry.
It's it's a charming book, and it gives you another side, and it's Bigfoot research, but into the kindness of them. For instance, if you gift them with something, they will take the gift, but then they return it. It's very much like porpoises. They take a gift, they enjoy it, and then they give it back. It's an amazing book. It's really it's a fun, worth a read, and it does give you a different. It talks about how people have established. Yep, that's it. Have established communications with them, but it's usually farmers who are living alone and who are isolate. And when they realize that Bigfoot is eating out of their garden, they plant more so the Bigfoot can take the vegetables or whatever it is they're eating, and they're very gentle.
That's awesome.
They're not,
That's.
you know.
Oh, and before I get on here, I've been meaning to get this to here. I'm going to show, just kind of get it again. Share your accolades. You have a documentary out there.
Yes.
Secrets of the Stones that you've narrated,
And
I've wrote it. I made it so far. I've made it a little over halfway through it, and it's very well done.
It's fun. Yeah, we put it out there, and we presented it at the 2011 Megalithomania conference. And at the end of it, with all of these amazing people, people were crying. And I thought that was so cool. But it's been out there for a long time. It's been looked at hundreds of thousands of times. I called somebody to be a guest on my show, and I mentioned that I was interested in the stone walls and chambers, and she said, well, there's a couple that did a remarkable video on them. You ought to check it out online. She said, it's just fabulous. They did remarkable research. And she went on and on and on. I said, are you talking about Secrets of the Stones? And she said, yeah, that's it. I said, I wrote it and narrated it. Yeah, I'm very familiar with it.
That's just a little quick side note. Could we maybe explore the fact of why I'm getting stylish bikini ads? I have no idea. This is just weird.
Well, usually they put stuff up that you've Googled from time to time.
No, that's what I said. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I've never done this before. Is this one of those the Wish ads where you get something random just pops up that you've never done before in your life?
Are you signed in on the Three Beards?
Yeah. That's what's weird. I'm like, yeah, this is the Three Beards one. No, so I liked it. We're gonna share that so that way people have access to it. And I think out of the document, one of the stats that was probably the most impressive to me was how you talked about if you actually took all the miles of the stone walls that are there, if I remember the stat right, 10 times around the entire globe.
Yeah, and that after we did it, the actual mileage was almost doubled by other archaeological studies. So it's impossible for the colonialists to have done this. And it was a study done in 1839, 69, and they estimated the distance of the stone walls in New England, and that doesn't count New York, which has tons of them. And it was that or the moon and back, I believe. I'm not sure the exact mileage of it. And Patrick calculated it all out. and allowing for, the seasons that you could actually work in New England, and Sundays, which of course the New Englanders are mostly Puritans, so they didn't do anything on Sunday. They would have to do, I forget exactly how much it was, but it was impossible for them to have created them. So they have to go beyond, as far as I'm concerned, beyond the last mass destruction or the last ice age, which was 10,000 years ago. And nobody has been able to determine who did the chambers and their corbelled construction. 3,000 years ago, the Phoenicians were doing it, but and there somebody suggested maybe the Phoenicians were here. There used to be over 2,000 of them in New England. Now there are fewer than 800. They're being destroyed routinely for patios. And
yeah, and that's that was kind of funny you just said that, because that's what I was going to ask you. It's just through the interviews we've done, Dennis Stone, just going through, I've often wondered this: how much historical knowledge have we lost that is now a fireplace, that is now a patio?
What's always I've kind of wondered about, we've made historical buildings, you can't touch them, you can't go near them, and they're preserved that only go back to the 1800s, and yet these stone structures go back far more than that, and they aren't protected. And nobody is. I put a map up on the website that tells people where they are. You can GPS them and go see them. And awesome. So it's sad, because instead of paying attention to history, we're erasing it, and I think we may be erasing a very important part of our past.
Yeah, we just had Dave Brody, the last show, and the ship, the boat stone, with the arrow. How many of those are currently sitting, either turned around or something on a mantle, in some fireplace? You're seeing one of those old where it's been mortared into place, and this is something that possibly could give a location of something. I've wondered carvings that were chiseled off so that way the rock would form like they wanted to in the foundation.
I mean, they've got stone carvings on Oak Island that they haven't been able to figure out. They've got, I mean, it's, and we only go from our own frame of reference, so we don't know really what it means, and that's, and it's the same thing with the glyphs, the pictographs that are in a lot of the ancient caves all over the place. It isn't the cavemen or people who lived in the caves had nothing better to do with their time. There was a reason these symbols were put up there. It's like the hieroglyphs in Egypt. They mean more than just the symbol they represent. There's a theory and a philosophy behind all of them, and we don't know what that is because it happened 8,000 years ago or 6,000 years ago. So while we can interpret the language, we don't get the meaning behind that language, which is very sad.
It's a kind of thing. Another thing that you've done too, it's like one of your interviews I loved about the remote viewing with Egypt. When you were talking about that was just, for me, that was fascinating listening to you describe. I'm
going to do more of that. I'm going to go back and reignite that group, and because in going back and listening to some of it was very rough because we'd never done anything like it before. So there were telephones ringings and weed whackers going and stuff like that. But we did hit a lot of fascinating material that, in retrospect, going back, has now become authenticated. So the tunnels and the chambers and all of that. So I'm thinking that as we get more into the winter time frame and I have more time, I loved putting together the material of where we were going to go. The meditations themselves were very short, and yet it took you into places that you might not have been before, which I found fascinating myself. Because they weren't scripted, so I just channeled them. So I went wherever I was supposed to go.
Well, without trying to sound like Joe Rogan, about tell everybody to go on DMT. You got to try this and stuff. It was kind of that was the part, just like how people that go on DMT all experience the same the same thing. It's that same way when you were talking about the remote viewing. It's like, okay, the three of us decide to do it. We write down what we see. What are the chances that all three of us see the same exact thing and write it down?
Well, I think in a way, it's the responsibility of the person who's leading the group, blending the energy, creating, because when you have a group energy, of course, it's far more powerful than an individual one person doing it. And it's a matter of the people trusting the person leading whatever it is you're doing. So I know when we did it initially, we had about 100 people that were in the group that I was pulling the energy together for. But very, very frequently, if people are sincerely doing it, you will see basically the same thing, but from your own level of perception. So, and I think that's something people have to understand. I read a lady once, and at one point I said to her, I'm seeing a lot of antique buttons, and I'm wondering if maybe you should be collecting them, or they're antique buttons here, and it's really important for you. And I hammered it, and so 3 months later she called me and she said, I've looked at antique buttons; they don't do a thing for me. And I said, okay. And then I had one of those epiphanies, and I said, is it possible that someone who is older is pushing your buttons? And she said, oh my God, yes. And it was like, okay. I saw antique buttons, and then everything made sense.
Yeah, that's no. That was a thing. It's kind of funny. It was this random thing that popped in my head. I remember from one of your interviews, and that's that's one of the things. Like, as I've been getting involved in this community, that's the part I've loved. It's opening avenues I hadn't even considered before, and I hadn't even really thought about. I mean, we've heard of remote viewing, and that's you have you're getting into the MK Ultra, and you get in those aspects, and that's one thing. It's you see those things, and then you see the average person, trying to go into these things, and not only does it that you're like, as people are going, oh yeah, I remote viewed this. It's like, do you remember the other day when you called me crazy because I was talking about MK Ultra? They're like, yeah, and I'm like, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not quite such a conspiracy theory now, is it? It's like,
yeah. Well, come on,
Dr. Evil.
The Vatican has a whole group of people that just do prophecy. That's all they do. I don't believe in it, but they have a group that just does prophecy. Our government probably has, black ops things in the same direction. I mean, look at we've got a space program now that they're admitting to, that we've had since the 80s. I mean, or 70s. So, it's kind of it's going to be interesting to see how they blend that together and say, oh, whoops, we've already been out there. So
as we're winding down here, I got one last big one for you. So
okay.
Now, if you had one, you got one chance at it, and you had to pick one. Where are you going? And you have full access to it. Are you going to the Smithsonian Archives? Seeing everything the Smithsonian has. Are you going to the Vatican? It's like you have those kind of things. Are you finding where the lost city of Atlantis is? I mean, just the library, just out of those things, like the big ones, which one are you picking? And you have as much time as you want to explore.
Wow. It has to be a physical place, though, right?
Doesn't have to be. No. It could be. It really could be anything. I mean, it's just. I was just throwing those as examples.
I want to see where humanity ends up, or I have often wanted to see the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. That's on my bucket list, but only if I can take my bathroom with me.
There you go.
I want to see Schlieman's gold that he dug up in Troy. I think I would like to see, with an interpreter, what the Vatican has in its basement.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to even really say it. I can look it up real quick, but Austin may not know this. But people don't understand the Vatican archives. It's miles
Oh,
of
yeah.
bookshelves. And these are from what has been rumored, people have smuggled, information that's been smuggled out. We're talking about documents that not only back up aspects of the Bible, but potentially refute
Oh, yeah.
things too. I mean, all this information is sitting in piles.
Yeah, and it hasn't been categorized. It hasn't been interpreted. So if I'm going to go there, I want an interpreter with me.
Yes. So somebody that'll do Aramaic, they'll do,
Yeah.
just go through. But yeah, for me, I'm kind of agree with you there. For me, the Vatican is the one for me. It's just, if everything, I could understand everything, I could explore it. For me, the Vatican, I want to know what's down underneath the buildings.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at, even Area 51 and stuff, that's only been around since, a couple hundred years. The Vatican's been around a lot longer.
Yeah. I mean, thousands of years of history is sitting in that vault that people don't even know about because you don't have access to it.
Oh, yeah.
Only the Pope does.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the cabal behind the Pope.
Yeah. and there is that.
Yep. But no, but Barbara, I had a great time talking with you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
This was one I'm glad to hear you say that, because I won't lie, I was actually nervous coming into this one, because I'm like, I just don't botch this one, Craig. Whatever you do. Because it just, you see those things of the interviewers that have just been terrible. It's like, my fear was Barbara getting off with Mark. It's like, seriously, you had me on with those guys.
No, every now and then I double his salary because I appreciate what he's done,
Awesome.
and so, but no, I said to him, so long as they, at least know who I am, I'm fine.
Yep. I hope I proved that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yes. Yeah. So everybody, barbaradelong.com, go there. YouTube, go to Nightlight, subscribe there. And if I remember, it's Night-Light is the best way to,
Yeah,
or just go to,
yeah, but
Yep.
the YouTube channel is Barbara Delong.
Yep. And that'll be the show that you see a lot of these ones, like the guests we're talking about. It'll be on that Nightlight program that she has. But yeah, go subscribe, make sure that you show them the support, because once again, without, gratuitous, groveling, it's like, I can't, as our podcast, I can't thank you and Mark enough for all of the help and support you've given us. Because I mean, it's just, we wouldn't be where we're at right now if it wasn't for you guys.
Well, you guys are genuine. I have no problem with that at all. I mean, it's those people, it's every now and then we get a guest, that we think we want on the show, and they get huffy, and it was like, speak to my agent, or you're not popular enough, or whatever. And, I kind of just, Mark gets offended, and I just laugh, because sooner or later they're going to want to be on the show, and I may not have room for you.
Yeah.
I am not beneath being petty here and there. So,
sorry, I'm booked. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
how about that?
Yeah. It's amazing. The next 40 years just got booked. I'm sorry.
True.
Awesome. Well, Barbara, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your night, to come on with us. It was a genuine pleasure. And, I'd love to have you on at some point in the future to talk with you again.
You know my agent.
All right. The secret booking agent, man, who luckily for us on the last episode was wearing clothes. So that was a great change.
He has told you our story on that, I take it.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
So
what we don't talk about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right. Well, thank you again. Have a great night, and we'll make sure we get that stuff shared out there for you too, so that way people.
Fantastic.
I'm going to share that documentary. Anybody it wasn't anywhere near as rough as you sold it in the beginning. Yeah, it was. Yeah, you made it sound like it was just going to be a really rough copy that it was going to be hard to. No, it was really good.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's I'm sure so I'm looking forward to.
It's easier to be humble than to be too arrogant. Trust me.
Yep. It's it's like under what's I'm botching that. It's where you over deliver. It's like under promise, over deliver. Yep. That was the thing. But thanks again, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great night, and we will definitely be in touch for the next time. Like I said, look forward, and everybody I mean, your show is all throughout the week. I mean, I always ask
Yeah.
Mark like what day. It's just, I know it's what, Tuesdays.
Mondays and Tuesdays for sure,
yeah.
and then often Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays too.
Blog Talk Radio / night light is a way to get in there so you can watch that show and listen to them live at the same time and ask them questions and, drop a line, tell them that Three Beards Podcast sent you. So that way, they get, so that way they get an idea where you're coming from and how you heard about them. So that way it helps them out too.
Thank you.
So, hey, you're welcome. Have a great night. I said we got lucky. No cats interrupted your broadcast. Yeah. So have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. This episode was brought to you by Brott's Beard Care, premium beard oil, and other products made right here in Central Florida by Kelly Brott himself. Go to brottsbeardcare.com. Use promo code 3beards with a capital B, and you're going to save 20% off your entire order. And free shipping is always on any of his products. Nanny Cakes 407, Nancy Burke. Give her a call at 407-923-2898. Mention you Three Beards, you're going to save 15% off your order, which is for anybody that's priced out cakes, wedding cakes, anything. 15% off a cake is an amazing deal. So make sure you mention Three Beards, and she's going to help you out, especially in the Central Florida area. She's going to be able to get that delivered to you. Outside of there, I'm sure arrangements can be made, meeting up with her or doing something like that. But it's just typically Central Florida area is going to be the easiest way to get there. Go to patreon.com/Three Beards Podcast. Go to threebeardspodcast.com. I did that for Austin since he messed him up. So once again, Chris is out tonight because his wife's birthday. Lisa, happy birthday. And I told Chris he was going to be in trouble if he tried to make this show. So I told him, you better take the night off. It's good for you.
Yeah.
So Veterans Day, thank you to all the veterans. Thank you for everything you did. Allows us to do what we're doing right now. And everybody, check us out on the socials. Go out there, like us, share us, become one with the Beardos. And that's how you do that with Patreon. Yeah, everybody, appreciate you watching. Thanks again to Barbara DeLong and all the work she's done. Mark Eddy, appreciate everything you've done for us as well. Much love to you guys too. So everybody, thanks for watching. Have a great night. We will talk to you next week when we have Boone Froggatt on talking about music, educating us Beardos on how to pluck them strings.
Yeah, right.
Good night.